Hi, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Corey Kiesewetter, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Forcepoint, covering cloud security solutions. And I'm joined today by Anthony Bennis, Senior Product Marketing Manager for Advanced Threat Solutions and Web Security. So today we're here to talk about Forcepoint RBI and the latest innovations we've brought out with the latest release of Forcepoint RBI. So today we'll go through an overview of RBI, what the promises of RBI are, and the associated challenges with remote browser isolation technology. And then we're going to talk about how making RBI smart can really address these challenges and ease adoption for organizations. We'll dive into the two key features that make Forcepoint RBI smart and talk about those in detail before coming to the rest of the features that have come out in this latest release. And then we'll hand off to Anthony Bennis to look at a quick demo from the end user perspective, as well as the administrator perspective with the latest Forcepoint RBI before wrapping up and closing. So RBI, remote browser isolation. What is it and why should I care? Well, Forcepoint web security solutions actually provide really strong protection for web browsing by using content inspection to detect and block access to web pages containing malware. However, sometimes organizations still have to access web pages even if they're compromised. Now, this is where remote browser isolation technology, or RBI technology, comes in. It provides the ultimate in web security by taking a zero trust approach to web security. For organizations that are concerned with preventing attacks through the most common threat vector, the web, they should highly consider adding Forcepoint RBI to their web security or next-gen firewall licenses. In fact, in an August publication, Gartner said most attacks are delivered via the public internet through either web browsing or emailed links that trick the user into visiting malicious sites. Simply isolating the browser from the end user's desktop significantly improves enterprise security posture, including protection from ransomware attacks. Now, in that same publication, Gartner also mentioned that the greatest obstacle to adoption is user experience. And the reason is that the process of pixel streaming can be bandwidth intensive. Think of it like FaceTiming a Netflix show. And this brings us to the latest Forcepoint RBI release. This release is evidence of the increased pace of innovation at Forcepoint that started in 2021. Now, in May of 2021, Forcepoint acquired Cyber Inc. and released the initial integration with Forcepoint Web Security Cloud in August in only 3 months. Since then, the teams have been hard at work not only to bring us up to parity with the industry's leading RBI solutions, but surpassing them with new features that are completely unique to the industry and directly solve the issues cited by analysts as posing hurdles to adoption. This release introduces the industry's first smart remote browser isolation to automatically balance security with performance to drive user adoption and ease management. To put it simply, Smart RBI provides a more seamless user experience and improves the security posture of your organization. And this new release offers 2 new features that balance security and performance to make this advanced security even easier to use. First, the new Smart Isolation capability introduces automatic mode switching for RBI. Now, classic RBI technology provides 2 isolation modes, secure streaming and secure rendering, also known as pixel streaming and DOM rendering. Now, secure streaming uses an isolated container to render and then stream video of the browser session to the client's desktop. So it's completely air-gapped from the content that's actually being rendered in that isolated container and the user's machine that is viewing that content. So this is extremely effective at neutralizing a wide array of malware, but as mentioned before, it can be bandwidth intensive, which can ultimately impact user adoption. Secure rendering, on the other hand, uses the isolated container to strip out active or dangerous content, while letting the rest of the content go on to render natively. While secure rendering solves the performance issue and is great for sites that may not have a reputation, secure rendering is less than ideal for sites that are known to be malicious. We prefer to use pixel streaming for sites like that. Now, prior to Smart RBI, organizations are forced to choose between only using one mode for everything or the impossible task of creating rules to determine the right tactic for every potential scenario beforehand. Smart isolation provides a unique type of automation that switches back and forth between the two isolation modes based on the contents of the page. This capability frees IT teams from the worry of having to know all the correct answers to web browsing strategies beforehand, and thus provides a simpler way to ensure the highest level of security for your organization. Now, the second key feature that makes Forcepoint RBI smart is related to zero trust content disarm and reconstruction. Smart RBI offers secure and useful file downloads using zero trust content disarm and reconstruction, or CDR. Users often need to download and use files from websites. The problem is that RBI solutions tend to focus on viewing pages and not being smart about files by making them safe and usable. Often, current RBI solutions will offer a way to flatten a file into a PDF, which makes files such as Excel files almost useless for the end user. Or some RBI solutions will scan for AV signatures to still allow use of the original file format, but this can be ineffective for novel forms of malware like zero-day threats. Forcepoint Zero Trust CDR solves these issues. Zero Trust CDR treats files as compromised from the outset and quickly sanitizes files as they're downloaded, actually in a similar manner to secure rendering, by stripping out active or dangerous content first and then going on to reconstruct the file in the original format using benign elements that we create ourselves to ensure a high fidelity file is created that is completely benign of any malware, and then going on to reconstruct the file in the original format so it is editable and usable. Forcepoint Zero Trust CDR thus provides a smart way of delivering usable files, even if they originally contain malware. Now, together, Smart Isolation and Zero Trust CDR automatically let people make full use of the web without having to learn new tools or change how they work. Also, in this release, we have some additional features that our customers, I think, will be very excited about. The first of which I would like to point out being our threat reports. Forcepoint offers more detailed granularity about the nature of threats on the web pages that have been visited in isolation through RBI. Basically, given these threat reports and threat dashboards in the latest Forcepoint RBI, you can easily identify what malware and what threats were on those sites that you need, and prove the return on investment, prove the heightened level of security that is being wrapped around your organization with this technology. Additionally, there's integrations with IDP providers for end user authentication, as well as using users and groups to apply policy as appropriate. Further, one of the things that I think will be highly valuable, especially for any of our customers that are looking at GDPR and other data privacy regulations, is the ability with this solution to control the duration that PII is retained. And for our customers using this that are protecting their employees or also their customers, the ability to wipe information, PII information, on request, as your customers may need to request that information, or your employees may need to request that information being wiped. Additionally, there are options for safe surf. It's basically a read-only mode. So some of our clients, whether in industries where they're actually investigating criminal organizations or banks reviewing new organizations that are applying for loans. A lot of times they have to go to sites that they might even know can be very risky, and want this absolute assurance against any threats coming through. It's advisable to use that safe serve option. Lastly, there are a number of further integrations. As I'd mentioned at the top of this call, in only 3 months from the acquisition of Cyber Inc., we integrated with Forcepoint Web Security Cloud. With this latest release, we have announced integrations for all deployment types for Forcepoint Web Security. So that includes cloud, on-prem, and hybrid, as well as next-gen firewall integrations, and the ability to use this RBI technology as a standalone solution. And further, the ability to use RBI, whether standalone or integrated with Forcepoint technology, as a cloud-based service or as an on-prem deployment. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Anthony Bennis to walk us through the end user perspective as well as the admin perspective.
Thank you, Corey. So my name is Anthony Bennis, as Corey mentioned, product manager for Forcepoint's remote browser isolation. And let's delve in and see what the product looks like in action. And what we have here is the Gartner website being rendered to our secure rendering technology and delivered to my laptop and my local browser. A few things that we should observe as we look at this. One, and notably, is the performance of interacting with the website is the exact same as you'd expect from a native website. So what I mean by that is anything I do within this website, such as interacting with content, typing, selecting text, etc., all should be responsive and invisible and seamless to that of a non-RBI session. So we're looking for seamless, and we're delivering a seamless RBI experience for our customers and their end users. It's seamless in terms of experience, but also in terms of how unobtrusive it is. This is not a browser embedded within a browser experience, and this does not require an agent or a plugin to run. This is the user using the web browser as they would any destination. And Forcepoint's RBI will air gap and remove any potential threats being delivered to the website, but allow the customer and end user to interact with the website as they would normally. And how we do that is by stripping out any potential or potentially malicious threats from the website. And let's have a look at how that looks like in reality. So if I was to go to the Gartner website here without going through our RBI portal, and I have a look at the page source, you'll see here at a quick check that the website contains, as you'd expect of any modern day website, a large number of JavaScript files. And these may or may not be malicious. In a zero trust web browsing environment, we take a zero trust approach to all content. And so if I look at this exact same web page, but delivered with Forcepoint's RBI and compare the two, I do a search for JavaScript, you'll just see just one file, and that's an RBI JavaScript file that Forcepoint generates and delivers to deliver that interactive content and interactability. Everything else is gone. So we have disarmed this website and delivered it safely and in a benign way to the end user. And you can see here, it doesn't take away from interaction. There's some nice animations here as I mouse over these cards with dropped shadows, and they're all, and any type of interaction is maintained with the RBI session. Also, as part of our Forcepoint RBI subscription is the content disarm and reconstruction CDR capabilities that Corey mentioned earlier. I'll just demo those as well. So what I have here is a website of our Deep Secure company that Forcepoint acquired earlier this year or in 2021. And within this website, there's a PDF, and I'm looking at this website again being served through our Forcepoint RBI, and in fact, through our secure rendering technology. So again, a seamless interactive experience. But if I click on this file, the first thing Forcepoint RBI will do is deliver it via the cloud browser. So this PDF is being rendered in the cloud and delivered within the browser. And nothing yet has been rendered on my own laptop or website. And the PDF may look harmless, it's a price list. However, PDFs can contain executable scripts within them. And in this case, this has a benign or malicious script embedded in it that'll hack the account if I mouse over a little gray square that you can probably not see on screen. And you can see here it's nicely and politely informed me that it has in fact hacked my computer. But thankfully we're using RBI and that hack has been air gapped. So the threat has only been delivered to the browser in the cloud cluster. If, as a user, I want to download that file locally, I can click on the download file link here. That will bring this file down to my PC and potentially become a threat vector. But thankfully with Forcepoint's RBI, when I click download, if you look at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, CDR service will kick into action. And what it's doing here, what it's processing here, is taking the content of the file and deconstructing it into its various components. And it's going to identify which of those components are safe and which of those are potentially malicious. That's after opening up the PDF file now on my website. Because it's a zero trust CDR, the same way our RBI is zero trust, this file has been disarmed and all the components have been removed and only the good has been delivered. So if I mouse over this gray square where the script is hiding, you'll see nothing is happening here. The pop-up message is no longer being delivered. And that's because CDR has effectively disarmed this into a benign file without any potential threats, giving you that zero trust access to your documents in the same way that Forcepoint RBI gives you zero trust to your web interactions. Let's jump back into my browser, and now we'll go over to the portal. So this is our RBI portal where you can configure and monitor and view reports for your RBI sessions for your customers and end users. You can see here we provide a view of threats that have been prevented by using RBI. And you can see here there is potential malicious sites, 20% being malicious sites, and compromised sites making up 40% of those sites delivered. And that can be quite typical if you redirect unknown or potentially malicious sites to the RBI service as a potential use case there. We also provide detailed logging, and using Forcepoint's threat seeker technology, you can see how we have ranked and scored the threats of each destination being navigated to within an RBI session. We also provide an overview of the files that you've downloaded or users have downloaded. And so, for example, I can click on the Excel icon here, and it'll show me all Excel files that have been downloaded. And thankfully, with our CDR process, they've all been sanitized through the CDR technology and delivered in that zero trust kind of way to our end users. Let me then show you very briefly how some of the features that Corey has highlighted, namely our smart isolation. Smart isolation is enabled by default, and smart isolation really helps to simplify the overall configuration. So typically, a security administration user, when they're using RBI, will need to balance which policies and which destinations should have pixel streaming, or what we call secure streaming, and which should have DOM rendering, which we call secure rendering. And that needs to be done and configured for policies. With smart isolation, with this one setting, we have left the service to intelligently and automatically determine what's the optimal rendering solution for the given destination. We also provide the ability to control that. So if I disable my smart isolation, we've now gone into this manual slider where, as a customer, I can determine at what threat score or what threat level I want to deliver everything to secure streaming, that pixel entirely 100% image mode being delivered to the end user. So I can reduce that down to 20 if I want the bulk of my web experience to be delivered over pixel streaming, or I can increase it to the 80, whichever I wish. So our recommendation is always to leave that as smart isolation automatically. Okay. Moving on through settings, you can see here that we also have an ability to use smart redirection. And this is part of the philosophy as we design our RBI solution. We want to remove the burden and the complication of setting up an additional security layer for your solution by automating and simplifying the configuration wherever possible. So we know that RBI is an additional security layer to your existing security solutions. What we don't want it to be is an additional layer of complexity. And so when you're looking at smart redirection, handling automatically which rendering mode to deliver the RBI service, here we have an automatic mode called smart redirection to automatically handle how navigation should be handled within a web page. So what I mean by that is when I click on a hyperlink within an RBI session, RBI service with smart redirection enabled will determine how the best and most appropriate ways to serve that, whether to keep it within the RBI session or to have serve it back to the web proxy or the extra firewall for reprocessing and for recategorization to maybe sent back to RBI or not, depending on where that hyperlink is going, whether it's external or internal to the current domain. We also have thought of PII and personal identifiable information protections upfront. Corey, do you want to jump in at any point here?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, again, at the top of this call, one of the things that we're really stressing is the value of Forcepoint RBI to alleviate the management overhead for system administrators. And that smart redirection piece really does decrease the burden on these administrators as you add additional layers or defense in depth, as it has been called. But think of it kind of like filters, layering different filters. And with each additional layer of security, a lot of times there is a lot more complexity that's added. And our whole focus is to allow organizations to seamlessly layer these advanced protection capabilities without incurring that additional complexity. So the ability to use a smart redirection really does reduce that overhead from a management perspective, as well as the smart isolation piece that Anthony had just touched on. And I really think that piece is quite elegant, especially with the ability to toggle off smart isolation and move the slider from 0 to 100, and thus, for example, Log4j. As soon as that came out, a lot of organizations might have thought to themselves, wow, my risk tolerance has adjusted with this threat. I can't rely on reverse DNS resolution or IP reputation to tell me that this is a risky site. Because of Log4j, a very trustworthy site may have been compromised without anybody noticing. And so in a situation like that, where there is a crisis, hey, a storm's coming, we know there's an exploit that's being exploited all over. Well, let me jump into my console real quick and adjust this all the way down to 0, as Anthony has done here. And now 100% of my traffic that's going through RBI is going through secure streaming, the most zero trust approach to web browsing there is. This is going to tighten that aperture and reduce the probability that a threat's going to come through. And I think this goes a long way in demonstrating the focus that Forcepoint has on keeping our customer top of mind always, not just from an end user perspective, but from an administrative perspective as well, to help simplify the job of security.
Perfect and nicely said. Thank you, Corey. So I'm going to go back to smart isolation because that simplifies things for me. Great. And just what I was saying there before Corey jumped in with that point is that we've designed this RBI solution with private PII information, data protection, data sovereignty in mind. And with that, we've made it as easy as possible to control the usage of data, how long you might store it, and as well as also reacting to requests like you have in the European Union with the GDPR, the ability to respond to requests for data anonymization or deletion for a given employee. So a customer can very easily go to their list of users and with a request from them, respond within a timely manner within the legislation to anonymize that employees or users' data. So with the click of a button there and confirm, I've anonymized all logging and reporting with my name attached to react to that request. And finally, I'll jump into the policies themselves. So within RBI here and under web security, you can see here you can create one or more policies. I'll jump into the default policy and show you how simple it is really to configure CDR. So by default, in fact, you would have file downloads and file uploads would be disabled. You know, we like to design RBI from out-of-the-box experience with the least amount of configurations and with safety and security in mind. But if you do want to allow file downloads, you can enable them here with this checkbox. And you can control the size. You can control whether you want it an allow list or a block list. And then you can define what kind of protection or policies that we call them on to be applied to each download of the file. And so by default, we do have our content disarm and reconstruct CDR technology to disarm and allow zero trust access to documents and images within a website. Where a document type may not be supported by CDR, we have a fallback mechanism where an antivirus scan will take place before the file is downloaded. And in fact, where CDR does not support file types, you can block those downloads entirely with this checkbox here. And for download uploads, you can allow or disallow, and again, you control the file size. So with that, I'll wrap up my demo and hand you back over to Corey. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, and to review what we've gone over today, the main issue with RBI is the impact to end user experience. So while RBI is widely recognized by all analysts as being a zero trust approach to web security and the highest assurance web security technology available, there are some issues regarding bandwidth for the pixel streaming mode specifically. And if we can make RBI smart to balance between these as a site is risky, or as the risk level rises, or on the inverse, as an organization's risk appetite decreases, we can use the smart isolation mode to better balance security and performance for the appetite of each individual organization, as well as using zero trust CDR to allow full access of the internet using zero trust solutions, not just zero trust approach to rendering web pages and then using a less than zero trust approach for downloading content and consuming content from websites. By making RBI smart and having a smart way to address both the viewing of the page and the downloading of any files from a web page, we can have comprehensive zero trust security for all that our users do online. And with that, I want to say thank you from all of us here at Forcepoint for your time following us along today. Thank you.